Alright, hello. Just me. I'm gonna do my little Warhammer tutorials. Just gonna try my best. The first thing, really the only thing that's important in the offense, and I actually don't know how true this is anymore, but when the game first released, they had a bug with the magic scaling, and technically, I believe the legendary lords and hero and lark, in that they scaled incorrectly on Ultra and would be technically weaker, and vice versa super strong on small. All this does is like determine how many individual units are in a single unit, if that makes any sense. Like normally you have 100 goblins on large, on Ultra you'd have 120, like 80 swordsmen I believe on large, 100 on Ultra. I don't know if this has been fixed. Can't find any post about it. I've looked, they're all from 2016. That's not relevant anymore. We'll find out for sure with Total Warhammer 2. If they fix it, that's probably when they'll fix it, because that's when they can do like an engine overhaul. I guess, I'm not sure. But anyways, I've put my unit size on large. That's really the only thing you need to know for all of these options. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do all the 4 base races, which are the Empire, Dwarfs, Greenskins, and Vampire accounts. Although the Von Karsteins are free DLC, so are the Bloody Hands, I'm pretty sure, along with Bretonia. So that's quite a few starts you get, even though these two are basically beside each other. But we're going to start with the Greenskins, because I went to do the Empire first, and I realized I had a lot to say, and it's easier to start with the army I'm way more familiar with. So, this is the screen where you're allowed to select your legendary lord before you start the campaign. What this does is chooses what your starting units are. I believe everybody starts with the same 3 units and then additional units. So as you can see, Grimgore here gets some boar boys, catapult, this catapult's amazing, and some black orcs, whereas Azhag, whatever, gets some goblin archers, goblin spider riders, and some big guns, which is pretty good. I'm going to start with Grimgore. You can unlock the other one, so you'll be able to play both of these guys during the campaign, but you have to unlock the ones with which you don't start with. And to be honest, it's probably easier to unlock Grimgore, but I haven't played too much Grimgore, and he's way stronger in melee. He's actually kind of funny, so I'll show you that. This is just some basic information. Map. That's where the difficulty is. You can actually change your in-game battle difficulty after the campaign has started, so if you want, you can put this on easy, and then when you get into the game, put battle difficulty up to normal or hard or whatever, where I like personally putting this on hard or very hard, and then changing the battle difficulty down to normal, because I don't like the units getting free morale boosts and stuff, but that's just me. So yeah, I was going to start with the Empire, but I started recording one and I spent like 20 minutes talking about stuff, and I was like, I haven't even started the battle, and there's still more to do. It's not that complicated, but I figured it'd be a lot easier to start with a more contained start, the Greenskins, and see if I can actually provide anything useful before laying down an extremely long,
the Badlands beyond Leo.
Very ranting video. So when you first start, the game loads. This is the advisor guy. You get your first mission, which I know for sure the 4 base races get this mission, which is defeat an army belonging to the following faction, in this case the Red Fangs. They are these ones, and there's an army right here. Basically the dwarfs, they start here, and there's an army for them to fight right here. Same goes for the vampire accounts and the Empire. I usually do this fight on turn 1, and it's actually the first thing we're going to do, and then we'll come back and deal with all of this campaign map. But first off, let's talk about how we're going to walk over there. So as you see, click on stuff to select it. So click on your army. There's Grimgore, Legendary Lord. We'll talk about these stats in battle on the left. I'll explain what they do in a minute. You can get some black orcs, orc boys, goblins, goblin archers, your boar boys, and catapult. As you can see, this area that's highlighted in yellow is the area in which you can move. The red arrow there indicates it would take me until next turn to move as far as I would like to. but you can move anywhere within this area. There are other forms of movement which are selected by clicking this little box down here. And before I go into that, I should explain what determines how far you can move. It's this little bar right here. Hover over it, and it tells you exactly what it does. The yellow bar represents this character's movement range. Once the bar is empty, the character will not be able to move until the next turn. And as you can see, as you right-click and drag, the green shows you how much you will have left after moving. Which is a little bit weird. Figuring out like stoplight colors. But back to here, we have different movement options. So you can select March, and as you can see, the dotted line is where I can move normally, and under March, it would let me move much farther. But as you can see, it comes with some penalties. Your campaign movement goes up, but you cannot recruit. You start battles tired. I'll explain what that means in the battle. And you cannot start battles at all. You can be attacked, but I can't attack this guy. He's got the little X. Whereas when I'm in this one, and as we will do in a second, there's a little sword showing you can attack him. The other ones are, for the greenskins at least, each race has, some of them have special ones that they can use. So the second one's ambush. Just off the map, they can't see you, and if they walk up, you'll ambush them, and you'll get a fun little fight. Useful. Comes, you know, depends on what you're trying to do. Something that's special to the orcs and dwarfs and beastmasters have a version of this, or beastmen, sorry. It's called the Use Underway. What this does is, depending on what terrain you're going through, you may be able to move farther or not at all. As you can see, because there's a mountain here, I could totally, you know, just avoid that mountain, go underneath it. But as you can see, it's got some requirements. You cannot have moved this turn. You can traverse underground. You're immune to attrition, which will be very important. And nearby hostile are intercept this force, which means attacked. Like if I was to do this, you'd have a chance to attack me. You can't run from that battle. It's just something to keep in mind. It tells you right there, should the army be intercepted, retreat will be impossible, and you cannot start fights. And then the last one is raiding camp, which is basically what you want to do when you're in an enemy's territory, because it allows you to recruit, replenish, gives you some fightiness, which I'll explain in a second here, obedience, lowers growth in the province, just does a bunch of good stuff. If you're trying to, like, if you want to encamp on something and you have to walk through this desert, for instance, you would want to use this every so often. We'll hopefully get a use of this. I just want to let you know that this is there, instead of really explaining it. The other unique mechanic for the orcs right here is the fightiness. If you have an army that is 17 units big, 17 out of 20, and it goes above this bar right here, you will get another army for free, pretty much, that you can loosely control. You can control it fully in battles, as long as it's reinforcing your main army, or an army that you control. But its main use is basically steamrolling stuff in a big old genocidal pub stomp. But I'll try and show you that. That's my first couple turns for the greenskins involve getting a wog as fast as possible, so you can like get a really solid start going. But anyways,
Ready for murdering.
I didn't expect to talk about a lot of campaign stuff like that, but alas. Let's start the first battle though, so select your army. You can win all of these battles on turn 1. You can also wait, you don't have to do them on turn 1. But when I was first playing, I started as the greenskins, and if you don't kill this army, you'll actually probably get attacked by this one as well. So we'll see. I'm expecting to go attack this guy, and then this army will come down and fight us, but we should be able to beat both of them. But there's a couple different ways you can do this start, but I'll talk about those after we do this fight. So when you right click on an enemy and walk up to them, this is the screen that happens before any battle starts, when you're being attacked or when you attack. And on the left side is your army, typically, and on the right side is the enemy's army. And you can see, if you're being ambushed, you probably, most likely, yeah, you can't actually, you can't see any of the units. You can only see what you'd be able to scout going into the battle. Right here is equipment that we'll be able to talk about after the battle in more detail. I know I'm putting off a lot of stuff, but there's quite a bit in this game. It's like, this is like banners and stuff, and like signs of chaos, so like marks of Khorne and Nurgle. stuff like that. Grimgor starts with a banner for his immortal boys, which goes on, only able to go on black orcs. As you see, it gives them some armor, defense, leadership. So I may as well throw that on the black orcs we start with. And down here, you've got, this just shows you basically what your mini-map is going to look like, or no, it's not too particularly useful, but as you can see, you've got like a hill there, hill up there. The red's your starting position, the yellow is the enemies, I believe. It'd be really weird if this was swapped the other way, but I'm actually not sure. I usually don't look at this map, I just want to show you that it was there. Right here is just the help. This is the quick save button. You can also quick save and quick load by Control S and Control L. So if you're wondering how to quick save when you're not like starting a battle or something, I'm not sure there's a menu option. Actually, let's just save. Yeah, there's no quick save in here, but you can Control S to make your own quick saves. It's just something to keep in mind. It's pretty handy, especially when you want to like test something out. The buttons down here, these are how you initiate the battle. This one just lets you fight the battle, manually fight the battle. Auto resolve, which is what this bar right here is. This bar is kind of weird because it is a option made by the game, and you can like cheese it when you get far enough in the game and you don't want to fight smaller battles. This is when this will usually be like fully yellow, and you can just auto resolve, as it says, automatically resolves the battle if you have a clear advantage over the enemy. However, you have a better chance if you fight manually, because yeah, this just does some calculations. And then retreat, which will send you, it'll take some movement to run back on the campaign map, and if you're being attacked and you click retreat, and then you retreat, and then they attack you again, you cannot retreat a second time, and if you lose that battle, you will have your entire army destroyed. So the same is true if you're attacking an enemy. So if I don't destroy his entire army here, I'll be able to destroy it after the fight, which will probably happen. So that's just something to keep in mind with retreating. So if you're attacking like a city, you want to keep your army far out as possible so that you can still attack it in the next turn. But if they were to like send a couple armies after you, they would have to spend enough movement to not be able to chase you, destroy your army. It's a little bit out of the scope for this. It's just something I thought I'd mention. Keep in mind. So I'm going to turn this off first. We're going to talk about that real quick, but this is what the battle starts like. Okay, so you do spawn on the yellow and your enemy's on the red. I guess that would make sense. Everything else is like that. It's just kind of weird. I feel like this should just flip the map. Anyways, as you can see, there's some hills up here. And then, well, it's actually like a valley over here, as we saw on the little mini map. First things first, this big yellow area is what's called the deployment zone. And before the start of any battle, as you can see, battles hasn't started yet, the time's not ticking down. Buttons are right there, but during this phase, you can select any one of your units, and you can put them wherever you want. Put them in the corner, put them right here, over here. You're asking, you might be thinking, can you deploy outside of the circle? And yes, you can, but you need a trait called Vanguard Deployment, which none of these units have, so I can't show it to you. And none of his units have it either, so that's not really a big deal. But generally, what you want to do with deployment is what I like to do, and this is probably not the best thing, is put your good old melee hero up here. I like to make a line of my fighting infantry, which for orcs is basically orc boys and goblins. Throw my archers. So you got a chariot. Kind of like you run faster going downhill, so I feel like if I can charge at them, we'll get a little bit of a benefit here. Put my catapult behind all this. Put my boar boys on top of the hill. Alright, so you're probably asking, how do you know that these are frontline infantry units? Aside from the fact that they're some of the give you at the start of the game. So if you click down here, the little target or toggle unit details brings up this little pretty informative piece of UI. It takes up quite a bit of room. I always like having it open just because it's dynamic. It changes with the battle, and it tells you the stats of basically every unit on the battlefield. What do these stats mean? Well, first off, starting at the top, got the name of the unit, the type of unit. So as you see, this is spear infantry. It tells you what it does. They have longer range, and generally, they're really good against cavalry and what's called a large unit. Goblins, however, do not have a bonus to large units. There's a special thing here. It would be a green arrow that says, actually, he's got some over here. No, he's also goblins, I forgot. I would say bonus against large or anti-large unit. It just means that they're stronger against it, and how they're stronger, they get more melee attack, I believe. Which I'll explain what melee attack does in a second. So up here, they're shielded. Shields have a chance of blocking arrows, bullets, rifle shots. Very useful. If you have a shield, your unit will last longer. It will take less damage from ranged infantry. What kind of shield it is there? There's this icon. It's either silver or bronze. Hover over it, excuse me. Come on, pop up. So this unit has a shield and will block 55% of all damage. Whereas the orcs only have a bronze shield, and this shield blocks 35% of all damage. So it's not like a chance to... Oh, it blocks missile fire hitting it, so I guess it just... I'm curious now. I don't know if this reduces damage by a flat 35%, or just reduces the amount of missiles you take by 35%. Type thing. That's not really important. I just realized, and I don't actually know how that works. Most of the stuff I haven't like actually looked at the mechanics for it. I've just inferred it from playing it, so it may not be correct, but it's done me pretty well. So I just feel like I'll pass it along. Anyways, back to the top. Expendable. This unit is comparatively cheap to recruit, maintain, and replenish, which is true. Goblins. Look at them. Little goblins. Oh, they got 120 in each unit. There's a lot of them on Ultra, man. Little goblins. There's a lot of them. So yeah, they're expendable. Expendable means what expendable means. You want to use them as expendable troops. They're very good for that. And they have poor leadership. And what is leadership? If you've played Total War, leadership is morale. And all it does is determine how long a unit will stay fighting, basically. The lower the unit's leadership, and eventually the leadership will break and the unit will rout. And if it gets even worse, the routing unit will flee completely from the battle, and then you can't use them anymore. Obviously, their leadership is low, they do less damage, they're less effective in combat. The goal of basically any battle is to make the enemies rout. So leadership is a very important stat, because you don't actually have to kill the entire enemy army, you just have to make them all flee by reducing their leadership. And there's many things that affect leadership. I don't have too many of them on here, but just basically stuff like being attacked by missile infantry, being flanked, getting charged. Some units are very terrifying, like the big undead zombie dragons, and like the bargulfs and giant spiders. You know, stuff that would be pretty scary, especially if you were like a little goblin. Grimgore's like, oh, yeah, get him, go stab that huge giant. I digress. Sorry. Excuse me. So below that, you get a little button that gives you a little information about the unit. Spear is a solid weapon. You know, goblins, however, that's true. Beneath that, shows you the unit size, how many are in it, and what its total maximum is. And since I've just started, I've got a full complement of every unit, because we're gonna lose a couple goblins in this fight, and they don't get replenished immediately. So you'll see the casualties after. This is your kills number. This is fun to look at to see how much work you're doing, like how good you're controlling your cavalry and stuff. Units get experience. They go from rank 1 to 9. Ranks just give you better stats. Beneath there's your total hit points. And then beside this is when the game first came out, there wasn't a limit to the amount of hit points you could regenerate, and the vampire counts at a spell which would regenerate health, and you could basically make immortal units, and you could do a lot of hilarious stuff. So they just changed it so that to limit how many hit points can be regenerated per battle. It's generally almost all of your health, if not a little bit more. In this case, it's actually because Grimgore's got a lot of health. I'm not really sure what the formula is or whatever, but you can see how much health you're allowed to regenerate, and this is using healing potions and stuff. So beneath that we have armor. All armor does is, at least my understanding of it, is reduce. Oh, that wasn't. Oh, okay, well, I guess it's like 75%. That's not important. Armor reduces the amount of damage you take. So I'm pretty sure if you were to take 50 damage, the armor would make it 25. And the reason it works like that is because melee defense is the chance the unit will be hit. So if you're not hit at all, then you don't need the armor. So then that must mean the armor reduces the damage you take when you're hit. So leadership, I talked about leadership. High with leadership, less likely to rout. Higher leadership, the better. Orcs are not known for their leadership. None of these units have particularly a lot. Even Grimgore, 75 is not really that good. Speed, how fast the unit moves. Melee attack. If melee defense is your chance to avoid an attack, then melee attack is your chance to hit. So just think of it like, I guess like Dungeons and Dragons or something, where you roll to hit, and then if you hit, you roll your damage. Except you don't roll your damage, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, the weapon strength is 25, so if I were to hit, I would do 25 damage. But since their armor is 25, they would take 0. Except for the fact, if you hover over this, right here, it shows you the damage split. And there are units that are armor piercing, which it shows you up here, in case of the Black Orcs. If you hover over here, all it does is mean most of their damage is armor piercing, so it will ignore armor completely. But as you can clearly see, every unit has armor piercing damage. So if you're wondering how does it do 25 strength, 25 damage when they've got 25 armor, well, 5 of that damage is armor piercing. So if they hit, they will always do 5 damage. That's how it works. Every unit has a little bit of armor piercing damage. You don't really need to know that. It's just if you're curious and you're wondering, like, why is my heavily armored unit losing to some goblins or something? And it's because if they hit you enough, and if you're playing Scarsnick, this is why Scarsnick's really good. You can buff up melee attack on your goblins to obscene levels and give them a whole bunch of weapon strength. And they do a lot of damage. It's pretty funny what they can do. And then the last thing though is charge bonus, which increases the unit's melee attack and damage when charging. There's no charge defense, but if you were to charge at somebody charging you, you can get your own charge bonus, and that's kind of the best defense. As you can see, spear units have terrible charge bonuses, and you should almost never be charging with spear units. It's a little bit different with orcs because they don't get anti-large anyway, so you may as well just charge. And there's a strategy that I'm not really good at that involves charging and charging and charging, but that's not too important right now. And the last thing is down here. It's like any additional traits or things that the unit may have. So as you can see, goblins can hide in a forest until enemies get too close. I can't really show you. It just means they're visible on the map. There's no forest here. Basically, almost every unit that isn't like a giant or like a flying unit or like catapults, most things can hide in forest. It's almost every unit has this. Cavalry does. Oh, these guys do. If you look at Grimgore, he's got a whole lot more. He's got missile resistance, so damage to missile attacks are reduced by this amount. It's percentage based, so that's pretty good. Encourage, which is, if you didn't know this, these are basically legendary lords, or lords are the leaders of your army. See, he's got very good stats. He does whopping amounts of damage. He's armor, he's melee expert. and he's got this aura when you hover over him. Now this blue aura is very important. This is your commander's like rallying or inspiring presence, basically. As long as units are within that circle, they'll have their leadership buffed up a little bit. And that's what this is right here. Encourage. This unit provides a leadership bonus to nearby allies. It's within range of both Lord's aura. Oh, it doesn't stack. I didn't know that. And the last one is immune to psychology, so this unit is immune to fear and terror, which is something I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, like giant units and stuff. That's really about it. You can go over basically all of your units and see what they do and do not have, and I hope that was easy to understand, because this gives you a lot of information and gives you some insight on how to use your units. Now, for the rest of the UI, it's just a little unit camera. Get nice and close. Check them out. Too bad this game doesn't have an army painter. That'd be sick. It's probably a mod for that. These are battle commands, so I guess may as well start the battle to get it going. So when you're ready to start, click it and you're off. Up here is the time controls. I suppose you can pause battles. You can't pause on legendary. So if you're ever going to play on the hardest of difficulties, it's basically Iron Man, no pausing. You can give orders while pausing, or no, you can pause on legendary. Sorry, you just can't give orders like this. So yeah, what I like to do is, you give your orders when you're paused. So when you give an order, let's put it back on here. As you can see, these two arrows moving fast means these guys are running. When they're running, that's how you charge. It makes them more tired, as you can see. Actually, I guess I didn't explain this. You can hover over each of your unit here, gives you a little bit of information about them, what they're doing. You see, like my catapult started firing because it's in their it's in our firing arc. You can see the firing arc of range units by hovering on them, and it's this yellow triangle. Yeah, it's kind of a bad color for this this terrain. So my Doom Divers are firing. Doom Diver is firing. You see this guy's moving fast. If I were to press R and tell him to start moving slowly. So one of the hotkeys that I use, one of the few hotkeys I use, is R, which lets you determine whether or not you want your units to charge or not charge. Why this is important is because you can walk your units up close to keep them fresh. Just that little leg symbol just determines how good they are in combat. Like the fresher they are, the better they fight, sort of thing. So as fights go on, they'll get tireder and tireder until they're very tired and they're not good at fighting, or they're very slow. It does basically what you'd expect it would do. So I think we're gonna start this battle the way I usually do. We're gonna walk these boys up a little bit, find out where their range is. He's probably gonna move that, so we won't be able to get in too close. Arch back a little bit, position them over here, and make sure everybody's walking. And we'll get going. Just fast forward, slow, half speed. It's nothing too important. I'll show you something fun with the catapults here. Click manual fire mode. Yeah, check this out. This is probably my favorite part of the game. I don't know, I really use this, but it's a lot of fun. We're reloading. There we go. Now, with normal artillery, you actually have to aim it, but with Doom Divers, you can fly it right in. Alright, so as you can see, we're being attacked. So I'm gonna pause the game just to get a little hold on what's going on. And he's decided to move up. So I'm going to charge in. And unlike in other Total War games, I haven't played too many of the recent ones, so I'm not sure how the unit recruiting and armies work. But in Total Warhammer, legendary lords and the lords of the armies are essential to keeping the army fighting. So because Grimgor is so strong in melee, you see this guy's not as strong. He's just a regular lord that you could recruit. I'm going to go beat the tar out of them. And as soon as their lord dies, they will every unit will get a huge penalty or negative penalty for letting the leader die, the legendary lord. So you see this, the firing arc should Doomsday expiring. Yeah, Black Orc's little flank, because I've got these Orc boys who can deal with all these arrow units. As you can see, they're armored, but they still take quite a bit of damage from these missiles, which probably wasn't the best plan on my part. But see, these battles aren't too bad. It's just cute at a basic flank. Didn't look particularly too good. This means damage. The unit's broken now. As you can see, their leadership is down into the. Oh, I pointed on my screen there. Down to the negative 57, negative 187. Now they're shattered, which means they won't come back at all to the map. I just shattered the. As you see, I won. I shattered the entire army. That kind of escalated quickly. I don't know if that was a very good demonstration, but these battles aren't too difficult. So now what you can do after every battle ends, this is usually something you can do to reduce the amount of units you're going to keep fighting. It's not worth doing if the armies can be destroyed anyways, but you can hunt them down and the casualties will carry over. Oh jeez. Doom Diver is destroying my own army. Generally, this is where cavalry is really, really good. But looks like we may have extended. Grimgor should be able to catch him, but this white line here is the end of the map. So as soon as he touches the white line, he is retreated. And we'll get to see what a retreat looks like. After every battle that you lose, that you still have movement, you will be able to retreat. You don't get to determine where you retreat to on the campaign map, but that is what happens. Alright, so I think I'm actually probably going to cut this here. That was way longer than I meant to, so I will be back. I hope this was alright, and I will continue into the rest of the campaign. But first we'll take a little look. So you can see completely zero, so I completely wiped out the Orc boys. Destroyed a lot of goblins, a lot of Orc arrow boys. You can see down here, I lost 45 units. Killed a lot of his, because he only got 104 remaining. And after each battle, you get a few different options. These are different, but the same for each race, kind of. But for the Orcs, you can either ransom them, which gives you fightiness, slaughter them for some leadership buff for a couple turns, or you can eat them for replenish. It's probably not optimal when it's back. And there we go. So I will be back.